what's next for you in this journey, and how do partners like Trucker Tools, help you get there?
Yeah, I mean, it's when you go through digitalization, it's the process of transitioning from analog to digital, right? So we've already seen that in transportation and 3PL. And the process of making that digitalization information available and working for your business, right? The longer you look at the data, the more of a story it tells you. And then trying to get to that digital transformation, which is getting to the point that you were talking about. It's the journey and applying that digitalization transformation to your business so that you can see it transform the relationship that you have with your customers and your carriers, right? With Prasad, what we're able to do is do the digitalization on the tracking, which has helped so much, know exactly where our loads are and get that visibility to our customers. In transformation, it's the it's the alternation. I guess you could say it's planned alteration and into the next world. And sometimes you can't see what that is. You got to shape that, like say, this is where we're going. And when we can go there, what we're looking at next is not only from the DFM being able to match said carriers and almost like in an AI, look at that predictive analysis. Right now, we've already gone through matching who's already handled these loads in history time here at Becker Logistics. And then now we need to quantify that and say on a predictive analysis on some type of R value that we can say predictively in October, the rates are going to be here and seasonality. These carriers are usually doing this lane for us. And being able to predict that in the future and saying, hey, we have this capacity already taken care of. We need 5 more trucks per day on this lane in October when we're in April. When we can look at that and then also be able to feed an RFP into it and get that data back in minutes and then manage by exception and have that predictive analysis to say, most likely that confidence level that these rates are good are above 95%. If we can get to that level, or better yet, when we get to that level, that transformation will actually have occurred and we'll be living that dream and we'll be closer to that 90% of digitally matched freight.
As you were talking, and I'm an engineer by background. I started my career as a material science engineer. So I love numbers. You were talking about our values and of course all this predictive analytics is all mathematics and everything else. But it struck me that I've been doing this now for over 22 years in terms of looking at logistics service providers and technology and everything else. How far we've come as an industry, because to have an executive at a logistics company talking about predictive analytics, talking about, automated freight matching, I think would have been, I probably would have lost that bet 22 years ago if someone made a bet with me that this is where we would be in 2021. So I think it's exciting, and I think it's a testament that, unless your peers in the industry are thinking the way you're thinking and the others that are kind of on this journey as well, it's going to be very difficult for them to continue to succeed, continue to grow and scale everything we've talked about today, because it truly is, on the one hand, this remains a people-oriented business, right? People aren't going away. It's a relationship business, and relationships matter. Relationships with carriers, relationships with shippers, relationship with your technology partners, all the stakeholders. It's still a very much people-driven industry. But man, you can't discount the role that technology is playing as well. And if you don't invest in that area, it's going to be very difficult, right?
Absolutely. You bring up a really good point. As we're in acquisition mode and we're looking for 2 targets this year, I'm looking at and meeting with a lot of business owners that didn't follow along in that technology. As TensorFlow and Python and R are out there, I started out in computer programming. That's what I was supposed to go into in the early 90s. and looking at this now and how that is so relevant to what we're doing. And if you're not on these platforms, either with a third party or developing your own, you're going to be left behind, and it's going to be so much harder. And that's where you're seeing that shift, and that shift is happening. I mean, you know, for us being ranked at 105th at 73 million, you know, I'm thinking to myself, is next year, you know, 2021, are we going to be ranked 105th at 120 million? Is my question. And what about all those other people that are at 10 or 15 or 20 million? Where are they now ranked? I mean, if you go back in history, there's been what, 35,000 MC numbers for freight brokerage? Only 150 companies have ever made it past that $100 million threshold, right? I mean, right now, things are going quicker and quicker and quicker. And if you're not in the Internet of Things and you're not following that journey, you will be left behind. Absolutely.
And I would add one thing to, I think what Jim said is absolutely right. What we are seeing is, you know, the brokerages, 3PLs that have adopted to technology or adopting to technology are seeing a growth. I mean, the last 1 year, I can say the growth has been significantly different than those who didn't adopt to technology. And that gap is widening by day. Like, I think Jim is dead on that I think the more you adopt to technology, the more you have to adopt to technology. It's a nice cycle too, because you're growing. You're no more, so, you know, like Jim said, he's no longer a 100 million brokerage. Now he's 400 and still trying to expand to become $1 billion, right? It's all in the size at this point. And one, I think I'll also attribute to our overall economy is growing. Our overall economy is growing, so the opportunities are opening up. And this is one of the key points a lot of people have mentioned to me is there is a structural change coming from shipper going directly to the carrier to shipper going to the broker. The broker market, broker freight has been consistently increasing. So over a period of time, I feel like the broker space is going to play a bigger role in that relationship.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's always been a subject of debate, right? Because I think a lot of folks say, well, brokers are just middlemen, right? Or just, you know, but they play an important role, right? They're more than just a matchmaker, if you will. And to your point, you know, if they would have been disintermediated, they would have happened already. And I think that there's a reason why that hasn't happened yet.